he can also develop the experiment for calculating the voltage across the set of insulators. Okay. Right. So overhead insulators. So what is an insulator? What is the purpose of an insulator? So generally we know that the overhead transmission line is used for transmitting or distributing the electrical power from one place to the other place. Right. In general, if you observe the overhead transmission line, what are the different components you can see? So the different components which are observed on overhead transmission line are conductors, supports, insulators, cross arms, and some miscellaneous items. Okay. So what is a conductor? What is the purpose of conductors? So conductors are the main main components in overhead transmission line. So these conductors will transmit the electrical power from one place to the other place, from sending station to the receiving station, or from substation to the consumers. Okay. So conductors play a very important role in transmitting the electrical power from one place to the another place. Okay. So then you have the supports, right? What is the purpose of supports? So supports in the sense poles or towers, right? These poles and towers keep the conductors at a suitable level from the ground. Okay. So then insulators. So what are the insulators? Okay, the insulators are generally attached to the supports, and they will insulate the conductors from ground. So to have the insulation between the conductor and the ground, you will use the insulators in overhead transmission system. Okay. So another component is cross arms. So cross arms, generally these cross arms are connected to the supports, right? So for this cross arms, we will connect to the these insulators, and insulators are connected to the conductors. Okay. Apart from these cross arms, supports, insulators, and conductors, you will also use some miscellaneous items which are phase plates, whether this is 3-phase, single phase, like that. So you will be having danger plates, you will be having lightning arresters, and you will be having anti-climbing wires. Okay. So there are some these are the different types of miscellaneous items. Okay. Main components are conductors, supports, cross arms, and insulators. Okay. So these are the main components for overhead transmission line. Okay. Now our main aim is to study the insulator. So the insulator is attached to the cross and conductor. One of the insulator is connected to the cross arm. So that cross arm is connected to the support, and another end of the insulator is connected to the live conductor. Okay. But insulator is to insulate the conductors from ground. Right. So you'll be there should be some properties for every insulator. Okay. If you observe the properties of insulators, the insulator should have high mechanical strength. Okay. So the insulators are connected to these conductors. Conductors will be having some weight. Okay. So to withstand for those weights, so the insulator must have the high mechanical strength. Okay. And it is also should have the high electrical resistance. Okay. So the main purpose of insulator is to insulate the conductor from ground. That means there should not be any flow of current through the insulator. So if there for that purpose, the insulator should have high electrical resistance. Okay. Then insulator should have the high electrical resistance, and then it should have the high relative permittivity, right? So that relative permittivity, if it is high, then the conductor can withstand for higher voltages. So as the voltage across the insulator is going on increasing, then at particular voltage that insulator may damage, right? So to withstand for more amount of voltages, that insulator should have the high relative permittivity. Okay. And that insulator should be non-porous. Okay. There should not be any holes. Okay. It should be non-porous, and it should be free from impurities and cracks, right? So otherwise, if it is porous or not free from impurities and cracks, then permittivity of these will decreases. When permittivity decreases, then the voltage level, withstandable voltage level of the insulator will decrease. So the insulator must be non-porous, and it should be free from impurities and cracks. There should not be any cracks and any impurities on the insulator. These are the properties of overhead insulators. Okay, it should have high mechanical strength, it should have high electrical resistance, and it should have high relative permittivity, and it should be free from impurities and cracks, and should be non-porous. Okay, then after knowing the properties of insulator, next let us see what are the materials that are used for these insulators, manufacturing of insulator. So generally the main material used for these insulators is porcelain. Okay, porcelain is the most widely used material for manufacturing of these overhead type insulators. Okay, apart from this porcelain, we can also use the glass, steatite, or some special composition of materials. Okay, composition of materials in the sense you will be using mixture of 2 or 3 materials. Okay, so generally porcelain will be used, and this porcelain will be produced by firing at high temperatures a mixture of choline and feldspar and quartz. These are the 3 components which are present in the porcelain. So these will be heated at high temperatures. Okay, and this porcelain will be having high mechanical strength when compared to the glass. Okay, it will be stronger than the glass, and it gives the less trouble from leakage, and is affected by changes of temperature, and is less affected by, right? So porcelain will be having high mechanical strength, as well as it will be less affected from changes in the temperature, and it is trouble free from leakage currents. Okay, because of these reasons, porcelain will be the most widely used materials. Nowadays we are also using the glass also, or some composition of materials, right? After knowing the what is insulator, what are the properties of insulators, and what are the materials used for the insulators, so then let us know about the different types of insulator. What are the different types of insulator that are generally used in the overhead transmission system? Okay, so the list is given here. Different types of insulator what are generally used in overhead transmission systems are pin type insulators, suspend type insulators, strain or tension type insulators, and last one shackle type insulators. So these are the main types of insulators generally used. So there are some other insulators are also there, which are stay type insulator, post type insulator, like that. So but those are very less widely used, and these 4 are very widely used. Okay, which is pin type, suspend type, strain type, and shackle type. So let us discuss about each one individually. First insulator, pin type insulator. So if you observe the diagram here, you will be having one insulator. Under the insulator you will be having one pin, galvanized steel pin is there. Okay, so because of that reason it may be called as a pin type insulator, right? That galvanized steel pin is connected to the cross arm of your pole. Okay. So if you observe here, this one, so you are having insulator, and that below that insulator you are having one pin, galvanized steel pin. So that galvanized steel pin is connected to the cross arm. Okay, it is bolted to the cross arm, and above the insulator you will be having one groove. Here is, if you observe in this diagram also, you are having groove for the conductor. So generally the conductors will be placed on that groove and are wide. Okay, so you see here this one. So if you observe this insulator, the conductor is placed in the groove, and is tightly connected to that groove with some wires. Okay, so generally this pin type of insulator will be used for both the transmission and distribution of electrical powers up to 33 kV. Okay, up to 33 kV you can use this pin type of insulators. Once if the voltage level is more than this pin type 33 kV, we will not use this pin type of insulator because it is bulky and uneconomical. Okay, so this is about the pin type of insulator. Okay, so pin type of insulators will generally be used for only voltages up to the 33 kV. Right, another type of insulator is the suspension type insulator. Right, suspension, why it is called suspension type insulators is, so these insulators are hanged to the cross arm. Okay, so this suspension type insulators generally will be having a few or one or two discs, two or three more discs. Number of discs are connected in series. Okay, number of discs are connected in series, and they will form a suspension type insulator. Okay, that's why it is called suspension, means it is suspended cross arm, or it is hanged to the cross arm. If you observe here in the diagram, here so this is the cross arm. So this one is the cross arm, and this is the suspension type insulator. These suspension type insulators are having number of discs here. So each disc is one insulator, right? That discs, two discs are connected with metal links. Okay, like that. So between any two discs, you'll be having one metal link, and all the insulators, number of discs or insulators are connected in series, and they will be connected or hanged to the cross arm. Right? Generally, these suspension type insulators are used for more than 33 kV. Okay, so pin type insulators are used up to the 33 kV. If it is more than 33 kV, pin type insulators will be very costly, right? So these suspension type insulators are very cheaper when compared to the pin type insulators. So if the voltage level is 33 kV, okay. So if the voltage level is more than 33 kV, so then we will prefer to use the suspension type of insulators. Okay, this suspension type insulator will be consisting of number of porcelain discs which are connected in series, and they will be connected with metal links, and it will form like a string. Okay, and here each metal disc or each unit, it is designed for 11 kV. Okay, so as seen in the figure, so there are number of discs connected in series. Each disc is designed for 11 kV. Okay, if you want to design a suspension type insulator with 33 kV, so then you have to connect three discs in series. Okay, if you use 3 discs in series and form a suspension type insulator, that 3 disc suspension type insulator will be having a voltage level of 11 kV. If you want for 66 kV, you have to connect 6 discs in series, like that. As the voltage level increases, you are going on increasing this disc. Okay, each disc is designed for 11 kV. Okay, depending upon what level of voltage you are supplying, so then the number of discs which are connected in series will go on increasing. Okay, now if you observe the advantage of this suspension type insulators, so it will be much cheaper when compared to the pin type insulator when the voltage level is more than 33 kV. Okay, up to 33 kV you will use the pin type insulator. Now if any due to high voltages, if any of the disc is damaged in suspension type insulator, you can replace only that disc only. Other disc will be in good and healthy conditions. Okay, only the damaged disc can be replaced and it can be used. So that means maintenance cost will be low in suspension type of insulators. Okay, right. And the next type of insulator is strain or tension type insulator. Right, strain tension type insulator will be similar in design to the suspension type insulator. Right, in suspension type insulator, you are connecting a number of discs in series, and between two discs you will be having one metal link. In the similar way, in strain type or suspension type insulator also, you will be having number of discs which are connected in series, and each two discs will be connected with one metal link. Okay, so but if you observe the suspension type and strain type insulator, these suspension type insulators are hanged to the cross arm. That means they are vertically placed. Now, if you observe the strain type or tension type insulators, so they will be horizontally placed. Almost it will be connected in parallel with the conductor with some inclination. Okay, if you see here in the diagram, so the insulators are connected in series to the conductor. Okay, or you can say that they are placed horizontally. Okay, so if you observe the previous slide, suspension type insulators, they are placed vertically. Okay, vertically they are placed, or they are hanged to the cross arm. Okay, vertically placed the suspension type insulators. So, but in case of strain type insulator, they are placed horizontally. So you see here, they are placed horizontally, and the design will be similar almost to the suspension. It will be a strain type insulator is also having number of discs connected in series. Okay, each disc may be designed for 11 kV also. Okay, so where these strain or tension type insulators are used. So generally these strain or tension type insulator will be having high mechanical strength when compared to the suspension type insulator. So these are generally used at the river crossing. If there is a river crossing, so then in such a case you have to use the strain type insulator, and also at the corners. So corners of the streets. Okay, at the corners of, if there is a corner, then also you have to use the strain type insulator. Right? Generally, suspension type insulators are used when the transmission line is just straight away. Okay, so there should not be any bend in the while designing the transmission system, right? So what I mean here is, so if you are having 3 towers, let us see. If you are having 3 towers, suppose if you are having 3 towers, so now these towers are placed on a straight line. So in such a case, you may use a suspension type insulators. Okay, suppose if there is a bend in the there is a bend at any place. Suppose your transmission system is going straight, and after going, if there is some bend here, so in such a case, here and here, so in these two towers, you will use a strain type insulator. Okay, if there is any bend, then generally we will prefer the strain type insulator than the suspension type insulators. Okay, so this will be used on the river crossings and corners, and also at sharp curves. Sharp curves in the sense what I said in the previous. And dead ends. Dead ends is nothing but a last end of the transmission system. Okay, at the dead ends also we will use the strain type insulator also. Okay, so these strain type insulators can be used for low voltage less up to 11 kV. Okay, so if the voltage level is less than 11 kV, you generally prefer the shackle type insulator. This strain type insulator will be used for any higher voltages. Okay, more than 33 kV or 66 kV, you will generally prefer this strain type. Okay, right. The next type of insulator is shackle type insulator. Okay, so in earlier days, this shackle type insulators were used as a strain insulators, right? So in olden days, these shackle type insulators will be used in place of strain type insulators. Okay, and nowadays they are frequently used for low voltage power distribution lines. So now in these in present days, for higher voltages we will go for the strain type insulators, and if it is a low voltage like distribution level, right, in such a case you may prefer this shackle type insulators. Okay, you know where strain type insulators are used. Strain type insulators are used at the cross arms, sharp curves, dead ends. In a similar way, in distribution system, which is a low level voltage. Okay, in distribution system, which is a low level voltage, you will use shackle type insulators as a strain type insulators. Okay, so these shackle type insulators can be placed either in horizontal position or in vertical position. Okay, and they are connected directly to the pole. So they are directly connected to the pole with some bolt, and they can be used as they can be connected to the cross arm also. Okay, so this is about the cycle type insulator. So these cycle type insulators are used for only distribution level, which is having a voltage level up to 11 kV. Okay, up to 11 kV you can use this cycle type insulators. So if it is more than 11 kV, then you have to go for the strain type insulators. Okay, so these are the different types of insulators. Okay, so types of insulators, mainly there are 4 types: pin type, suspension type, strain type, and cycle type. Pin type of insulators will be used for voltages up to 33 kV. Okay, if it is more than 33 kV, you have to go for suspension type insulators. Okay, in suspension type insulator, number of discs are connected in series, right? So each disc is designed for 11 kV. Okay, if you want for 33 kV, then you have to connect 3 discs in series. If it is 66 kV, 6 discs in series, like that. Okay, as voltage level going on increasing, the number of discs also will increases. And strain type insulators or tension type insulator, these are similar in design to the suspension type insulator. So this strain type insulators also have the number of discs connected in series. So but the main difference is suspension type insulators are connected vertically, and these are connected horizontally with some inclination. Okay, and suspension type insulators are used when the transmission system is a straight line, straight runaway. Okay, so in strain type, if there is a bend in the transmission system, so then you will prefer the strain type insulators. And when if you observe the cycle type insulator, the cycle type insulator will be used for low voltages up to 11 kV, so which is for distribution system. And this cycle type insulators will be used like a strain type insulator. Okay, and this cycle type insulators can be connected directly to the pole, or it can be connected to the cross arm. Right? If you're having any doubts, you can ask me now. So these are the different types of insulators. Right. Now here, what is the potential or voltage distribution over the suspension insulator string? Okay, most widely we will use the suspension type or strain type. Okay, so in either the case, whether it is suspension type or strain type, you will be having number of discs connected in series. Okay, so for suspension, for suspension type, we are going to calculate the voltage distribution. Okay, voltage distribution or potential distribution across a suspension insulator or insulator string. Okay, now let us see the first diagram. So here you are having 3 discs are connected in series. So each disc, this disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3. Okay, 3 discs are connected in series. So it will form a string of insulators or suspension type string of insulator. Okay, now each 2 discs are connected with one metal link, which is represented with a dot. Okay, so each 2 discs are connected with metal links. So here also in the second case, second and third, they are connected with one metal link, so which is represented with a dot. Okay, now the voltage across this total string is V, and voltage across each disc is represented with V1, V2, V3. Okay, so V1 is the voltage across the disc 1, V2 is the voltage across the disc 2, V3 is the voltage across the disc 3. Now the final disc, second end is connected with this conductor. Okay, this here you will be having conductor. Okay, now above here, this is called the cross arm, which is connected to the tower. Okay, you are having a tower, and this is the cross arm. For this cross arm, these string of insulators are connected. Okay, now if you observe this diagram, here you are having metal link, here you are having metal link. So between two metal links, you are having the insulator. So this forms a capacitance here. So that means the insulator will act like a capacitor. So in such a case, this first diagram will be replaced with the second diagram. Okay. So each disk will be having a capacitance of C. So there each disk is represented with a one capacitance in here in the second diagram. Now voltage across the total string is V. Okay. So suppose
open end.
Hello. Any doubt, ma? So if you're having any doubt, you can ask, no problem. So here you are having the conductor, right? So now the current, suppose if there are three disks, each disk is represented with some capacitance. So now let us assume all the disks will be having the same capacitance value, which is C. Okay. Now all are connected in series. So here you are having the live conductor, which is connected to the disk number 3. Now the current flowing through this string will be I. Okay, you see here in the diagram, as they are connected in series, all the disk will be carrying a current of I. Okay, disk 1 will be having the current I, disk 2 is having current I, disk 3 having. So why? Because they are connected in series. So as current flowing through the each disk is same and capacitance of each disk is same, so then voltage distribution across the string also same. Okay, so which is V by 3 in each case. So total voltage across the string is V. So in such a case, voltage across each disk, if you observe, this will be V by 3, V by 3, V by 3. Okay. So but generally it is not the case. Okay. If there are 3 disks connected in series, if you observe the voltage across each disk, it should not be same for all the disks. So why? Because you will be having a capacitance between each metal link and tower also. So if you observe the third diagram here, so each metal, between each metal link and this tower, you will be having some capacitance. Okay, so what it means, between tower and metallic link, which is represented with the dot here. Okay, between two disks you will be having metal link. So from that metal link and tower, you will be having air as the dielectric medium. So there will be some capacitance exist between your tower and metallic link. So due to this capacitance, the current flowing through the each disk is not same. Okay, when the current flowing through the each disk is not same, voltage across each string also not same. Okay. So generally, this capacitance is called the self capacitance, and this capacitance is called the shunt capacitance. Okay, the capacitance which is between two metal links or one metal link to ground. Ground is nothing but tower. So these in second diagram, each capacitance is called the mutual capacitance or self capacitance. You can say in any way, mutual capacitance or self capacitance you can call. And the capacitance which is between metal link and tower, so this capacitance C1 is called the shunt capacitance. Okay, so this shunt capacitance C1 will be some K times the C. Okay, right. Now what is the string efficiency? Now string efficiency is the ratio of voltage across the whole string to the product of number of disks and voltage across the disk which is near to the conductor. So this is the string efficiency. Okay, string efficiency is the ratio of voltage, total voltage across the string by number of disks n into voltage across the disk which is nearer to the conductor. Now if you observe the diagram in previous case, so if you want to calculate the string efficiency for this case, okay, here you are having 3 disks which are connected in series. Okay, so string efficiency is equal to voltage across the total disk, which is nothing but V, voltage across the string or voltage across the total disks, so which is V. Now number of disks by product of number of disks and voltage across the disk which is nearer to the conductor. So number of disks here are 3, so 3, so multiplied with 3 multiplied with So voltage across the disk which is nearer to the conductor. So voltage across the disk which is nearer to the conductor. Conductor will you are having the here, which is connected to the disk number 3. So voltage across disk 3, V3. So this is the string efficiency for this case. So when there are 3 disks connected in series. Okay. See here, string efficiency is the ratio of voltage across the string to product of number of disks and voltage disk which is nearer to the conductor. Okay, now let us derive the voltage, this string efficiency expression. Okay, so here we are taking the 3 disks which are connected in series, so which is a string, and voltage across each disk is represented as V1, V2, V3, and total voltage is V. Okay, so if you observe the diagram, you will be having 3 disks. So 3 disks, each disk is having a capacitance C. Okay, this capacitance is the disk capacitance C, right? So then total voltage across the string is represented with capital V, and so as I said before, between each metal link and this tower, so this is the tower, so this is tower, between the tower and metallic link you will be having capacitance. So that capacitance is called the shunt capacitance, which is represented with C1. Okay, so between each metal link and the tower you will be having shunt capacitance C1. Right? Due to this shunt capacitance C1, the current flowing through each disk is not same. Right? So you have to when the current is not same in each disk, voltage distribution also not same. So you have to assume the current flowing to the first disk is I1 and voltage across the disk is V1. So similarly for the second disk, you will be having voltage across the second disk is V2 and current flowing through the second disk is I2. And for third disk, current flowing through the disk is I3 and voltage across the disk is V3. So these are the assumptions what we have done. Total voltage across the string is capital V. Okay, here you are having like your main conductor. Right. So now apply the Kirchhoff's current law at node A. So in the diagram, you will be having node A here. At node A, if you apply the Kirchhoff's current law, so then incoming current is equal to outgoing currents. Incoming current is nothing but I2. I2 is equal to I1 plus small I1. So this small I1 is the current flowing through the C1. Right. Now the current is expressed as the voltage by reactance of capacitance. So V by XC. So XC is 1 by omega C. So you can write it as I is equal to omega C V. Okay. So in such a case, I is equal to, so generally this is V by X. So this V by 1 by omega C you will get. Okay. So I is can be written as omega C into V. Okay. Omega C into V you can write as I. So I2 can be written as, so I2 is where here, this is I2, current flowing through the disk 2, right? Across the disk 2 voltage is V2. So you can write this as V2 omega C. So V2 omega C, and I1 is V1 omega C. I1 is current flowing through the disk 1. So V1 voltage across the disk 1 is V1. So it can be written as V1 omega C and plus small I1. Small I1 is the current flowing through the this capacitance, shunt capacitance C1, right? So the shunt capacitance, if you observe this voltage, so this voltage is nothing but this voltage. Okay, so here this is from here to here you are having the ground. Okay, this point is connected, this point is connected to this point only. So that means if you observe the voltage between a point this point A and the ground, so this is same as V1. So I1 can be written as V1 plus V1 into omega C1. So as I said before, this C1 is some K times the C. So here we are writing in place of C1, which is Kc. Okay. So now if you observe this equation, on all the term you'll be having omega c. So if you get this omega c as cancel, so then the final equation what we are getting here is V2 is equal to V1 into 1 plus k. So let's this let it be equation number 1. Okay, V2 is equal to V1 into 1 plus k you will get. Okay, so that k, what is k? C1 is equal to 1 by C1 is equal to k times of C we were assumed. So k is equal to C1 by C. So that means C1 is the shunt capacitance and C is the self capacitance. Okay, so k is the ratio of shunt capacitance to self capacitance. Okay, in a similar manner, so you apply the KCL at node B also. So when you apply the KCL at node B, so right at node B, incoming current is I3 and outgoing currents are I2 and capital I2 and small I2. Okay, so if you write the KCL equation at node B, so the current is equal to outgoing currents. So which is capital I3 is equal to capital I2 plus small I2. Okay, so now I3 is the current flowing through the disk number 3. So voltage across the disk is V3. So this I3 can be written as V3 omega c. Okay, and I2 is the current flowing through the disk 2. So voltage across the disk 2 is V2. This can be written as V2 omega c plus small I2. Small I2 is the current flowing through the this capacitance C1, second shunt capacitance. Okay, now if you observe the voltage across this C1, so then this will be the sum of these two. Why? Because voltage across this between this point is same as voltage across C1. So voltage across C1 here is V1 plus V2 omega C1 you will get. Okay, now after simplification, so the final value what you will get is this one. V3 is equal to V1 into 1 plus 3k plus k square. Okay, here in this equation, omega c will get cancelled. You will get V3 is equal to V2 plus V1 plus V2 into k. Right, so in place of V2 you can write this equation, right? V1 into 1 plus k. In place of V2 you can write as V1 into 1 plus k. So then in all the terms you'll be having V1 as common. When you take V1 as common, the final equation what you will get is V3 is equal to V1 into 1 plus 3k plus k square. Okay, so now you are having voltage across the first disk is V1, voltage across the second disk is V2, which is expressed in terms of V1. So V1 into 1 plus k. So V3 also expressed in terms of V1 into 1 plus 3k plus 3k V1 into 1 plus 3k plus k square. Okay, right. So then if you write the voltage between the conductor and earth, so voltage between the conductor and earth is nothing but voltage between the conductor and the tower, so which is the total voltage across the string. Okay, so here we are having tower, here we are having conductor. Between the conductor and the tower, that the tower is connected to the earth, so you may also call it as voltage across the conductor and earth also. So that is total voltage V. So the total voltage V is the sum of the all voltages V1 plus V2 plus V3. Mute your sound now. Right, total voltage is V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. Now you know that V2 in terms of V1 and V3 in terms of V1 we were developed. Right, V2 is V1 into 1 plus k, V3 is V1 into 1 plus 3k plus k square. So those values we were substituted here. So then capital V also total voltage is expressed in terms of V1 only. So that is V1 into 1 plus k into 3 plus k you will get finally. Okay, so from first you will get V1 into 3 plus 4k plus k square. Right, now if you write the factors, then the final equation what you will get is V is equal to V1 into 1 plus k into 3 plus k. Okay, so this is related with this third equation. Okay, so now from the three equations in previous case, V2 is V2 in terms of V1. Here V2 in terms of V1. So this can be written as V1 is equal to V2 by 1 plus K you can write. Okay, V1 is equal to V2 by 1 plus K you can write. So from this equation, from this equation, V3 can be written as, sorry. So from the third equation, V1 is equal to V3 by 1 plus 3K plus K square you can write. Okay. So from this equation and from these two equation and this, on the final equation, this V1 is equal to V1 into 1 plus K, 3 plus, into 3 plus K. This also can be written as V1 is equal to V by 1 plus K by 1 plus K into 3 plus K. So from all the three equations, you can write this equation. Okay. So V1 is equal to V2 plus K or V by 1 plus 3K plus K square or V by 1 plus K into 3K, 3 plus K. All are equal. So from this equation, what you can say, voltage drop, voltage across the first unit. First unit is nothing but first disk, which is V1 is equal to V1 in terms of V1 is equal to V by 1 plus K, 3 plus K you can write. Okay. If you know the voltage across the string and if you know the capacitance C and C1, so then you can calculate the K value so that you will get the V1 value. Okay. So V1 can be written as, this V1 can be written as, from these two, you compare these two. V1 is equal to V by 1 plus K, 3 plus K. Okay. In similar way, V2 is V1 into 1 plus K. After getting the value of V1, in terms of V1, V2 can be written as V2 is equal to V1 into 1 plus K. Similarly, V3 can be written as V3 is equal to V1 into 1 plus 3K plus K square. Okay. So finally, what is the string efficiency? String efficiency, as I said, voltage across the total string, which is V by number of disks, N. Number of disks here is 3, so 3. And voltage across the disk, which is nearer to the conductor, is nearer to the conductor in the sense here. So this is the conductor. Disks nearer to the conductor is this V3, third disk. So voltage across the third disk is V3. Okay. So string efficiency can be written as V by 3 into V3. Okay. Into, if you want percentage, you have to multiply that with 100. Okay, right now. This is about the string efficiency. Okay. So what we were discussing here, what are the different components of transmission line tower? So which are conductors, cross arms, some miscellaneous items, insulators. So the main components in the overhead transmission line. So then we were discussed about the different types of insulators. But also we were also discussed about the what are the properties of insulator and what are the materials used for the insulators. Right. After completing those, so we were discussed about the string efficiency for suspension type insulators. Okay. How you can calculate the string efficiency in suspension type insulators. Okay. We developed the mathematical expression for determining the string efficiency for suspension type insulators. Okay. Right. It is time up.